Hey guys, it's One World HD, and I'm going to be doing my fifth theory on the countdown to Christmas. And this one's going to be on who is the next Straw Hat. So I will have four more after this one, and they'll probably be ordered in like some kind of importance, I guess. This one is pretty important, but I just kind of put it as number 5 because I want to kind of get this out of the way. But this one is definitely a big question in the community. Who the next Straw Hat's gonna be? I mean, I've seen this by so many different people, and I believe I have a unique answer that nobody has thought of, and it actually makes the most sense out of any other person who could join. So before I say who the most likely person is, I'm just gonna go over the other possibilities. We have Bartolomeo, Cavendish, Rebecca, Viola, Bellamy, Baby 5, Leo, Princess Mantry, Law, and I don't think those are going to happen, or they're already pretty much proven not to happen anytime soon. At least not to join Luffy's main crew. A few of those have become fleet captains. Another possibility is Jinbei, but I don't see him joining the main crew. I do see him becoming sort of like a fleet captain, only because if you look at the cover pages, by the end of his journey, he had Wadatsumi, that giant sea monk, follow him. And I think he's starting to gather his own little fisherman crew to sort of reinstate the Sun Pirates. And I think he'll join the Straw Hat fleet under the Sun Pirates rather than join their main crew. It would make a lot more sense too, because he could fulfill his own dream in his own way while still following Luffy's crew. And then we have Kinaimon and Kanjuro. I don't see them joining either, same reason as Jinbei. It would kind of make sense if Kinaimon joined because he would complete the Swordman trio. But the one thing that makes me think that they won't join is the fact that I think in Wano, Zoro is going to have the Shizui, and they're going to sort of save Wano from Kaido's fleet. So it would make a lot more sense if they became allies of the Straw Hats, maybe as like a samurai ship. And that would make a lot more sense because they could be like sort of like Zoro's fan club, sort of how Bartolomeo is Luffy's fan club. Because Zoro is sort of like going to be the descendant of Ryuma, who had the Shizui. And we know that they're going to Wano pretty soon, so that would make a lot more sense if they had like a little samurai squad that followed the Straw Hat fleet. And then we have Smoker and Tashi. I think they will stay Marines only because they believe in their own sort of justice, and even if they do eventually become a lot more friendlier with the Straw Hats like they have been becoming, I don't think they'll just ditch the Marines and become pirates just yet. If it happens, it'll probably happen towards the end of the series, and maybe they will found their own little pirate crew rather than joining the Straw Hats directly. But I guess that's always up for possibility. And then there's the one that the majority of people pick, which is Monet. And Rogers Base did a great video on this, so I'm not going to cover it too much, so I suggest you watch that. But basically, in his theory, he says that the snowfruit reincarnated into Nami's tangerine tree, and that Nami will get her snowfruit. I don't believe that she'll directly eat the fruit. I think that she'll actually implement it into her weapon. And I will sort of explain why this is going to happen later. But I don't think she'll eat the fruit because she seems to like swimming, and she's always sort of complained about devil fruit users not being able to swim. And she's always wearing a bathing suit, so I don't see a reason for her eating a devil fruit. It would just waste her ability to swim. So the two most likely answers are going to be Jinbei or Kinaimon. But if Jinbei joins, the problem for me is that if he has Wadatsumi following him, then Wadatsumi would also have to join the crew. And if Kinaimon joins, then Kanjuro, Raizo, and Momonosuke would have to also join. So this all sort of narrows it down to one possibility, in my opinion. And I've seen this, I think, maybe in a few comments, mostly stated as jokes, but I haven't really seen any other YouTubers, and I haven't really seen any forums really cover it. I don't really view forums anymore, so if someone else has covered it, then I haven't seen it. But it may seem like a really dumb or weird option at first. And I even used to say it as like a joke in live streams a lot. But I promise you that this is not a joke. I'm dead serious when I say this. So I think the next Straw Hat member of the main crew will be Caesar. So I know what you all are probably thinking in your head, like, oh my god, you are insane, man. I'm never gonna follow your theories again. You're stupid. I don't know what you're talking about. This is the dumbest idea you've ever said in your entire life. But trust me, there is a lot of evidence to back this up, and I mean a lot. I have like a whole list of reasons right here. So I'm going to tell you why. Now most people hate him because he's evil and he's been a past villain. And I will explain why I think he's justified later on. And also some people would say that he's obvious and that he's been there the entire time. And if he's been there in plain sight, then why would he join? And I think that this is sort of like the term hiding in plain sight. and that this is really intelligent because even though he's been there the entire time, not one person has suggested him joining. So this sort of adds surprise to it. On top of that, Oda also said that the next Straw Hat would be a past enemy. I believe in an old Jump Fiesta interview in 2009 or something like that. I'm not sure about the how legit it is, mostly because a lot of people were saying that the translation was a bit weird. But for the most part, if that is true, then this would make a lot more sense. And on top of that, he's been hated by a lot of the Straw Hats already, especially Chopper, who hates him for abusing medication and putting kids in those like states of addiction. But I think there are some good reasons to dislike Caesar. But the question is, can he be redeemed? I think he definitely can. But before that, I'm just going to go over some reasons why I think he should join. Now, the first reason is that unlike the other people I mentioned, he has nowhere to go, and he has nobody that really likes him, nobody who trusts him, and unlike the other people, once again, his entire crew is either dead or defeated, and they're not coming back anytime soon. So I think if the Straw Hat crew were to let him go, all the Yonko would be after him, all the black market people would be after him, and he wouldn't be safe anywhere. And on top of that, despite popular belief, Caesar does have a dream, much like the other Straw Hats. He wants to surpass Vegapunk and become the best scientist, and that's sort of why he kind of harms people who get in his way, or he has harmed people to get to or achieve his dream. On top of that, he was a past enemy, sort of like Robin, Nami, Frankie, and Usopp, who at one point opposed the Straw Hats. And they were doubted initially, but this sort of just in the future reinforces how they belong to the crew and sort of reinforces their relationship to the crew and how they belong. And unlike many past villains, he has shown to have a variety of different emotions just besides being a psychopath. He was embarrassed by when Chopper complimented him, and he was sort of like fake arguing with the other Straw Hats, not angrily arguing. And with Sanji, he did show that he does have some kind of like fear, and he's beginning to realize what fear is like, and Sanji sort of realizes this and shows him pity, as you can see. On top of that, his role is very unique to the Straw Hats. They do not yet have a scientist or a Logia user yet. And I think a scientist is important because Caesar is sort of a representation of Vegapunk, sort of how Luffy represents Roger, Chopper represents Hilaluk or Crocus, Sanji equals Zeph, Usopp sort of like the representation of Yasopp. So I think if Caesar joins, he'll be the representation of Vegapunk along with Frankie, who also wants to achieve Vegapunk's dream. And not only does he have his own role, but he also connects everyone else's role. He's like a missing piece to the puzzle. The different things he could do is he could finish the Sunny with chemicals instead of cola, and he could sort of like how Enel powers his own arc with electricity. He could supply it with chemicals that could make the weapons a lot more stronger, and he can create an infinite amount of chemicals which could make it have infinite energy. And the fact that he worked with Vegapunk for years could also mean that he learned how to put devil fruits into weapons. So this could mean that he could put the snow fruit that she may have gotten from Monet's reincarnation into the Straw Hat tangerine tree. He could take the devil fruit from that and put it into Nami's staff, and he could complete the staff by adding a snow element to it, which hasn't been shown yet. He could help Chopper with medication. He could create chemicals for the drugs he uses. He could help Frankie by replacing cola, because cola is made by sugar, which is a chemical. And Frankie wants to follow Vegapunk's dream, so that would also sort of connect the two. He could help create pesticides and like growth hormones for plants. He could provide flames and gas for Sanji's cooking. And for Luffy, he could just do something stupid like create fireworks or cook meat with flames. That would just be enough to impress him. And the cool thing is that if he were to become a main member, he's extremely powerful, but he isn't better than the Monster 3. Jinbei could arguably like mess up the Monster 3, but I think he's just behind the Monster 3. I think he's just a little bit stronger than maybe like the 5th or 4th strongest member of the Straw Hats. So the reason for this is, of course, that his Logia actually uses poison, flames, air, and many other elements that Logias are limited to. Like Ace can only use fire, but Caesar can use fire, poison, and all these other abilities, which adds a lot more potential for his character in the future. And since we know Caesar creates weapons like Shinokuni, he might have an interest in the ancient weapons, sort of like how Robin does. and Frankie sort of does, has shown to have. So if he has this interest in ancient weapons, joining Luffy would actually benefit him in that way. And in terms of foreshadowing, I think he actually has been foreshadowed because each of the Straw Hats have been shown to represent a certain animal in Chinese zodiac. And in this picture here, Caesar actually represents the goat or the sheep. And lastly, he knows the secret to Smile and the Shinokuni or gas weapons that were used on Zou and that he eventually stopped. And that's going to connect to my next point. And if you're still mad about the evil stuff he did, like almost killing all his subordinates and experimenting on the children, here's how I think he'll redeem himself, sort of. And first off, if you supported Monet or Bellamy or whoever else was evil in the past, then Caesar should also be supported in a way by you, because Caesar was just as evil as those people and he deserves just as much forgiveness as those guys got. But in this panel here, in the recent chapter, he was shown to be unlike his past self, and he seems almost regretful and guilty of creating the chemical weapons that got rid of or annihilated all the minks by Jack. So I think he will change, and I think the reason why he was evil to begin with could be maybe because just some kind of influence. We know that Doflamingo was a huge influence on him and was telling him to do all this stuff, and maybe just to help achieve his dream of becoming the best scientist. And he never really killed people for fun. He believed that it was necessary for his dream, and he viewed people as sort of test subjects, almost like a lab rat. He didn't really think that he was killing people for fun. And now that he's realized through fear and humility of being kidnapped by the Straw Hats and almost being taken by Big Mom, I think he kind of understands and has empathy for those people that he harmed in the past. And this is actually kind of similar to the Straw Hats in a way, because past Straw Hats have tried to achieve their dreams in bad ways initially, but then were actually rescued by Luffy, and he helped them achieve their dreams in a more civil and righteous manner. Like Zoro used to cut down people for their bounties, and he tried to get stronger by just taking people down for their bounties and stuff. Robin betrayed many people and didn't care if people died along the way, as long as she learned about history. Nami stole from people to help her village out. Frankie stole a fortune from Luffy and beat up Usopp to build his dream ship. And I think Chopper is sort of the same. You may not expect this, but Chopper was sort of the same with his monster point, because he was experimenting on himself with the drugs, with the Rumble Ball drugs. And with Monster Point, he went berserk, accidentally of course, and hurt a lot of people. And I think he can kind of relate to Caesar in this way, because if Caesar does change, then he could look at his past actions as more of mistakes, because Caesar did a lot of people he killed initially with Vegapunk were killed by mistake. But the thing in my opinion that would change him, and this is sort of what differentiates him with Chopper, is that if he regrets it in the future, then I think Chopper can relate to him a lot more and will forgive him easier. And it'll also be easier for the other Straw Hats to accept him, as long as he regrets it and he realizes that these past mistakes he made were a mistake, and he doesn't just see it as something justified. So I definitely think that the Straw Hats, and Luffy especially, will inspire him to change. He's already shown signs of change already just by being with Sanji and stuff, and Chopper. And I think a major way he could actually change is, in case you didn't realize, Shinokuni, the weapon he created, and different forms of gas weapons have already been taken and are being used by Jack's army with the Calamities, and I believe they're actually being used by Big Mom too. So if these weapons are being used to wipe out entire countries, and if Kaido's already mad at the samurai, then maybe in Wano we'll see the other two Calamities using some kind of gas weapon, and Caesar can actually save all of Wano by dispersing the gas or absorbing it all and saving everyone's life. And this might give him another goal aside from just becoming the best scientist or discovering more about ancient weapons. It'll sort of help him realize that he made a mistake, and his goal could be to join the Straw Hats to stop all the weapons he created, because especially last chapter, it was shown that he kind of is regretful of what he's done with the gas weapons, Shinokuni and all that. So I definitely think that he'll have a change in character, and maybe there will be some kind of justification for him acting violent or wrong in the past. Maybe he'll have a sad past like the rest of the Straw Hats. Maybe his parents got killed or something worse. Maybe he has a reason for needing to achieve this dream of becoming the best scientist. And honestly, at this point, I don't know where else he could go, what other use he could have for anyone else. He seems to have the biggest use for the Straw Hats. He has exactly what they're missing right now, and he would connect everyone's abilities sort of together. He would also be sort of a representation of like Frankie and sort of Usopp, sort of like the people who are able to craft stuff and create technology. He would complete the trio for them. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully it enlightened you in some way. If you didn't expect this before, or you now agree, write that in the comment section below. If you have any reason to disagree, or you believe that he's not fully justified just yet, then write that in the comment section. And don't be a jerk about it just because you disagree. But I will have more theories come out this week. It'll be daily until Christmas. It's the countdown to Christmas. So I'll see you guys later.